Saturday, Saturday, do what you want on Saturday. Watch cartoons, ride your bike, eat whatever the heck you like. Oh, yeah, we live for Saturday. Hey there, friends and foes. Welcome to Back of the Cereal Box. And this is not Saturday morning, this is Wednesday Night Bites, an exclusive Patreon live stream for just you and me to get together and chat about things that we don't have time to talk about on our Saturday morning show. And of course, we are brought to you by our Patreon supporters. And if your name is not there in lights, make sure to visit patreon.com/cerealboxpodcast. Of course, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because if you're watching this right now, you are a Patreon subscriber, and so you do have access. So anyway, thank you for watching. So this is Wednesday night, and I know this is the first Patreon exclusive Wednesday night bites that we're doing. So viewership is probably going to be very small, but as we grow, as our Patreon community grows, we'll welcome more and more people. You can comment live just like you normally would because you've got the exclusive link to the YouTube video through Patreon, and you can post your comments and we can have a conversation. So welcome to Wednesday Night Bites. And what is Wednesday Night Bites? Well, you know, Saturdays is all about cartoons and comic books and kaiju and eating big bowls of cereal. Wednesday nights is more about stuff that we don't have time to cover on Saturday, or maybe doesn't fit in one of those categories. Now, we are going to talk about new comics. Yum! Because today, Wednesday, is New Comic Book Day in the US. And so I went to the comic book shop. And let me share what I got. So, issue number 3 of The Sensational She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell and Andres Genolet. Really fun series. I'm digging this in a big way. Jen is back, and so is Bruce Banner, the Hulk. This is good. This is a really fun series. It's not super heavy. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it really does personify who She-Hulk is. And we got one watcher tonight, one viewer so far on this Patreon exclusive. Welcome. I see a comment. And hey, it's Cartoon Commotion. Cartoon Commotion. First day with my new tongue. Hey you there, Cade. Glad you could join us. So what else did we get at the comic book shop today? Timeless #1 for like the third time. This is the third Timeless #1. This is a future battle between Ultra Luke Cage and Moon Knight of the future. And Moon Knight of the future is just Khonshu. But Luke Cage has all of the powers of the heroes that have come before him. Interesting idea. I don't know where it goes, but it's cool. I picked it up because I'm a fan of Luke Cage and I'm a big fan of Moon Knight, but they paint Moon Knight as the villain in this, so I wasn't super excited. Jackson Langzit, first day with my new tongue. Golly, I'm struggling. Jackson Lanzig and Colin Kelly are the writers, and artist is Juan Cabal. It's worthwhile. Now, this has become one of my favorite books of the season. Batman and Santa Claus, Silent Night. This is the final issue, issue 4, and it ends with a big Christmas celebration of all of the heroes that helped Santa Claus redeem Krampus and save Christmas from the evil spirits. Um, what a great story this was. Just a ton of fun. And the creative team is Jeff Parker, one of my favorite writers, and art by Danny Kim and Steven Segovia. Um, just awesome. Look at Santa Claus punching out one of the elder gods. Awesome. Awesome. I'm sure this will be in a trade paperback coming soon, but issues 1 through 4 are available right now. And then I was super excited to pick this up because I love these facsimile books, these facsimile editions. These are reprints as they originally appeared when they first hit the shelves. Um, Letter pages, ads, and all. And you know what? So this is the American Seed Company. Get prizes, win cash. I actually first learned magic from Olympic greeting cards the same way, from an ad on the back of a comic book. I'm waiting to see that in one of these facsimiles. I've not yet. But this is gorgeous John Romita and Joe Sinnott art in this facsimile edition of Fantastic Four Giant Size Superstars issue 1. And it's, of course, the Thing versus the Hulk. And golly, I love these old ads. I love this. And, a lot of people keep asking, why, Johnny, why are they reprinting all of these previous. Oh, guess what? Right there it is. Olympic greeting cards, prizes, and cash. And one of the prizes is going to be on here is a magic kit. And that's how I started learning magic. There's a candle making kit. Where's the magic kit? Weather forecasting kit, senior chemistry lab, microscope kit. The magic kit is on here somewhere. Because I saw this ad and I called the number I sent away for the sales kit, and I sold 8 boxes of Olympic cards. So, you know what? This is not John Romita. It's Rich Buckler, but it is Joe Sinnott inking. Joe Sinnott made everything look great. So he was one of those inkers that could ink a toaster and make it look great. This is a $6.99 book, but man, is it awesome to have. To buy this in this condition, original, would be a couple $100. So $6.99. Yes, it is part of my epic origin story, says Cartoon Commotion. That comic ad is totally part of your epic origin story. Yes, it is. And I tell that story all the time, Cade. So speaking of facsimiles, DC has gotten into the act too. Now they are not printing on the same on the same high quality paper, but everything is remastered and recolored, and it is on high grade newsprint. But the new Teen Titans issue number 1, and look at this. Speaking of Saturday morning cartoons, in living color, you got the great ad for the is that CBS? Yeah, CBS Saturday morning. Look at that. I love seeing these original ads. Here's an ad for Grit magazine with Richie Rich. I read this issue last night. Here's the in color Olympic greeting cards ad. I read this last night and I was really, really blown away. Excuse me. Really blown away by how serious comics were in the 70s and 80s. I want to say this was like 82, maybe. Let's see. Does it say? 1980. Yep, I was right. 1980. I had forgotten how serious comics were in the 80s and how much depth they had. This is kind of dark. We think of the Teen Titans as being really fun, lighthearted, comedic. This is kind of dark. Really heavy stuff, but really fantastic. Um, written by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, and George Perez did the artwork, um, and really defined the Teen Titans. This is the origin of Cyborg and Raven and Firestar and Beast Boy Changeling. It's really fantastic. Um, Cartoon Commotion says that's beautiful. I gotta order that just to frame the ad. I love the Saturday schedule ads from those comics. I was gonna order some on eBay. Uh, Cade, you don't have to order them. Just go down to your local comic book shop, and they've got the facsimile editions, and you can take your pick. It's not in that ad, but I do have one of the other books that has the Saturday morning ads with a Mr. T ad in it. I'll have to dig that out. I've been getting all of these facsimile editions here recently because I just love them, and I love having them in my collection. Speaking of having something in my collection, we'll be covering this on Back Issue Breakfast Club coming up in the next couple of weeks. Picked up a graphic novel, trade paperback actually, called Rapture. It's Ninjak and Shadow Man, or Ninja K, depending on how you pronounce it. I love Shadow Man. I love ninjas, and Ninjak is a really cool character from Valiant Comics. And so combining Shadow Man and Ninjak in one story in the Valiant universe, combining martial arts and paranormal, I this could be a lot of fun. This could be a lot of fun. Written by Matt Kind and art by uh, Cafu. Um, Super excited to read this. We'll review that on a Back Issue Breakfast Club. So Cade says, my comic shop is an hour's drive, so I'll get around to it eventually. Well, save up and make a list and go buy a big old stack. My comic shop is about 30-45 minutes away. Now I have one around the corner, but I don't go there anymore because the way they treated my dad. That's a whole nother story. So I go to one in the next town over. It's about a 45-minute drive. Now, the comic book shop that I really love is over an hour away. That's where I get most of my graphic novels. But anyway, speaking of prizes out of the cereal box, this was a birthday present from my friend Blake. This is the Marvel Legends Moonstone figure. What's really funny is this was a Walgreens exclusive, and I almost bought this for myself like the week before he gave it to me. I just got it this past Saturday, and I was this close to buying it for myself. I'm glad I didn't. I haven't opened it yet, although wait a minute. No, it's still taped. I will do an opening of this. I should have prepared for that tonight, shouldn't I? I should have. But this will go on one of the shelves behind me. Super excited to get that. You guys, I can't wait to show you the new loot I got for Christmas. I came after Christmas this Saturday. Holy cow, it's going to blow your mind. And by the way, Cade, this Saturday, we're doing something really cool. We are going to be interviewing each other as a get to know the hosts, something we've not done in a long time. And courtesy of our friends at Poddex. So pick this up at Indie PopCon in Louisville, and I don't think I've shown it on the program. Tic Tac KO Dragons versus Unicorns. Basically, here's the premise. It is tic-tac-toe that you play on a grid with playing cards, and the playing cards you have to match a pattern that you draw, but the patterns or the cards that you lay down in those squares have certain abilities, and you can knock people out of their space. You can change the pattern. Um, it's really cool. It's a fast game. It one game could be 2 minutes. The next one could be 5 minutes. It's or 20 minutes. It's really super fast, and I love it a lot. The only thing I don't like, and this says 30 to 60 minutes. We played 3 rounds, 3 games in less than 20, and a game is 3 rounds. So we played a game in less than 20. But the only thing I don't like about this is that the playing board is paper. It's not cardboard. If they would upgrade that to cardboard, man, what a great game that would be. But if you're into board games and you're looking for something fun and light and easy to learn and quick to play, Tic Tac KO. You already know how to play tic tac toe. It's just adding in the element of the special powers and abilities of the dragons and the unicorns. And this is from Unstable Games, the same company that did Unstable Unicorns. You can get it directly from their website at unstablegames.com. It's also available at Target and Walmart and most of your favorite game stores. Check that out. All right. So before we talk about Aquaman 2, because we're going to talk about Aquaman 2 and my thoughts. Speaking of magic from a comic book, I got my first magic kit from an ad from a comic book. This is actually a magic comic book, and it teaches you magic tricks in the comic book. But you know what? Not everyone wants to read a black and white comic. So you use your imagination. You cast a shadow, a little bit of magic, and look at this. It becomes color. Now, if you're afraid of someone getting a hold of your secrets and learning your secrets, and you don't want them reading the comic book to learn your tricks, you just cast another shadow, give a shake, and the colors everything disappears. That's a problem. Marvin's Magic. I love this. This is a prop that I'm carrying with me almost all the time. All right, so let's talk Aquaman 2. And what should Hollywood learn from the box office in 2023? I went and saw Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom. It wasn't very good. By today's standards, it isn't very good. If we judge it on the late 80s, early 90s, we would probably have said back then that it's a masterpiece. But we were coming out of the dark times, and we've been spoiled. We've, had the MCU. We've had some pretty good outings from the DCEU. Not great, but some pretty good ones. The first Aquaman was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It was $1 billion gross. Wonder Woman was really good. And, of course, I love almost all of the MCU. I'm not a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Sorry. I did see them, but just not my jam. I'm not a fan of Deadpool, but anyway, I went and saw Aquaman 2, and it was just silly. It was just schlocky, and it wasn't, in my opinion, really well written. And the CGI just was like watching a cutscene from a video game. And it hasn't done very well. It's underperformed. It did just hit, um, I want to say 200 million at the box office after 3 weeks. Um, but it had over 200 million, over a $200 million budget just for production, not including advertising and marketing. It is going to lose money. And when you look at the movies that have actually turned a profit and made money, there's only a handful of them this year. Super Mario Brothers hit a billion. Barbie hit a billion. Um, and you know, Oppenheimer is right there at a billion. Um, Spider-Man Across the Universe, or Across the Spider-Verse, I think has done like 600 million, which is way overperforming for its budget. Godzilla minus one, which had an $8.5 million budget, um, has grossed over $40 million in the US. Worldwide, almost 200 million on an $8.5 million budget. That is the most profitable movie of 2023. And what do most of these movies have in common? With the exception of Spider-Man and Super Mario Brothers, they're all practical effects. They do not have these huge CGI budgets. Even Godzilla, it's a guy in a suit. There's some CGI to enhance it, but it's so subtle you can't tell. They focus on the human story and the practical effects, and Barbie is all practical effects. Those sets are real. The props are real. Oppenheimer is all, real worlds. And that's Christopher Nolan's thing. He doesn't do any CGI. He insists on making it real. There's a scene in Tenet where they had to drive a truck, like a dump truck, into an airplane and blow it up in a hangar. They really did it. That was not faked. They did that for real. And those movies are hitting it out of the park. Now, the exception is Super Mario Brothers and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but those are animated, and they're fully animated, and they're supposed to be, CGI animation. Super Mario Brothers is obviously capturing on the nostalgia of the Super Mario Brothers Nintendo game. If they do a sequel, it's not going to do $1 billion. There's some novelty in that, but it's an original story. They haven't done it before in that format. And it's very true to the video game. It looks like the video game. It feels like the video game. Has the same fun. And you know, obviously, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was animated. Now, it has not performed as well as the first one, but it's performed better than any of the other Disney movies, any of the other sequels. And what can Hollywood learn about that? Well, Cartoon Commotion says, kind of backs up what you said about practical effects on Facebook. That's right. And Cade adds that movies are becoming rinse and repeat. Value is in profit, not in the art. Only a handful of the movies today are fighting against this mode of thought. Yes, yeah, you're exactly right. Movies have become rinse, wash, and repeat cash grabs. And 2024 is going to be worse. Everything coming out in 2024 is either a sequel or a reboot. There's there are a handful of original movies coming out. If I don't know anything about it, Madam Web, it's a Sony Marvel Nobody knows. Look, Madam Web in the comics is so obscure. Nobody knows who that is. Nobody cares. I don't think that movie's going to do well. It might be great. It's, a female-led cast. It might be fantastic, but I don't think it's going to perform well because um, there's just nothing. There's just nothing compelling about it. And then Craven the Hunter, hardcore comic book fans are going to reject that completely because in the comics, Craven the Hunter is a villain. He's a Spider-Man villain. And in this movie, they're casting him as an environmental hero. And it's such a departure from the core of the character that I think comic book fans are going to reject it. There's only one comic book movie coming out next year from Marvel, and that's Deadpool 3. And I think that's going to do exceptionally well. But the only other two that are coming out in 2024 are the Sony oh no, there's three. Madam Web, Craven the Hunter, and Venom 3. Why are we doing a Venom 3? Guys, why? And Cade Cartoon Commotion says you need Spider-Man for a Madam Web story. Exactly. Madam Web is a Spider-Man character. And fans of the Saturday morning animated series from the 90s, you know who Madam Web is. But, I agree with what Cartoon Commotion says. You need Spider-Man for all of these Sony spin-offs. It's ridiculous for them to think that these characters should exist without Spider-Man. And you're exactly right. They're just not, they're just going to underperform. And you know what? They might be great. I love Craven the Hunter. He's actually one of my favorite Marvel characters. Probably my favorite Marvel villain. I've got a Craven the Hunter pop right behind me. I don't know if you can see it, but I really like Craven. I think he's very cool. But without Spider-Man, the movie they should be making is Spider-Man: Craven's Last Hunt. No, no, no. I take that back. Hollywood, ignore what I just said. Marvel, ignore that. Sony, ignore that. I do not want a film adaptation of a masterpiece like Craven's Last Hunt. You guys will mess it up. Just please leave it alone. As much as it would make a great film, I just there's something in the pit of my stomach that says you wouldn't do it justice. So Hollywood, here's what I'm begging you learn from 2023. And you're going to have to learn it really hard in 2024. Original stories. You've got to do original stories, or at least completely original takes on classic characters. One of the reasons Godzilla Minus One has been doing so well is because it's the first Toho movie since 2006. Final Wars was their last film in 2006. So even though there's been the legendary MonsterVerse, that's not the same iteration. So fans of the classic haven't had anything since 2006, so they're thirsty. They're hungry for that classic Toho take, and Toho did such a great job in telling a really compelling human story. Cartoon Commotion says just make a Spider-Man versus Craven. The sequels for Spider-Man should just be like long episodes of a complete Spider-Man timeline. I've wished for that ever since the original trilogy. Yeah, but you can still run something into the ground. I don't even think movies need to have sequels necessarily. One of my all-time favorite movies screams for a sequel. I love the Western Silverado. I've mentioned this a lot. Kevin Costner, Scott Glenn, um, Who else? Danny Glover, um, Kevin Costner. I mentioned Kevin Kline, Rosanna Arquette, Brian Dennehy, Jeff Goldblum. Um, just an amazing cast and perfect story. It's uh, basically, you know, Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven style storytelling. Um, Classic story, perfectly written, perfectly shot, perfectly acted movie. It's so good. And at the end of the movie, Kevin Costner's character um, looks back to the camera and says, "We'll be back." And they ain't never come back. That's been 1987, I think. And part of me is okay with that. I would love a sequel to The Rocketeer, but that movie as a standalone film is pretty darn perfect. You know, I don't want it to be like The Matrix. The Matrix was a perfect movie until they added parts 2 and 3, and now a fourth one, which I didn't even go see because I hated the second and third. I want the perfect product that the first Matrix gave us, and unfortunately, Hollywood is not learning this lesson. And 2024 is going to be filled with sequels and remakes. We're getting a fifth Ghostbusters, Dune 2, Venom 3, Beetlejuice 2. What? Why do we need Beetlejuice 2? I just feel like Hollywood is about to have their butts handed to them. I'm excited about Godzilla X Kong, the the new Empire, because I'm a Godzilla fan. But there's nothing else on the slate of movies that I've seen. Even uh, uh, Inside Out 2. Why are we doing Inside Out 2? Come on. Anyway, I just don't think movies need sequels. Now, here's the problem. Hollywood, Mattel had this huge success with Barbie, and now Mattel is rushing to turn every one of their IPs into a movie. Oh, just shoot me in the head already. We don't need a sequel to Barbie, and we don't need more Barbie like movies based on Mattel toy IPs. I don't need a Magic 8 Ball movie. Anyway, I unfortunately, I think Hollywood is going to have their hat handed to them. They have not learned the lesson of 2023. And yeah, and Cartoon Commotion agrees. Inside Out totally didn't need a sequel. The original had a complete story that actually feels weaker if it has a sequel. Just saying. And that is my point. So many movies that I love are one and done. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, perfect movie. Love and Monsters, what a great movie. Kubo and the Two Strings. These are movies that I personally love. The Rocketeer, Last Starfighter, Silverado. You know, sequels weaken the story. And of course, I blame Star Wars. I blame Indiana Jones and Back to the Future. Those stories, benefited from continuing, but not everything does. Not everything does. So, will Hollywood learn their lesson? It's going to take another full year. We'll see. We'll have to wait until 2025 to find out if they learn the lessons from this year because they're repeating them in 2024. Now, I'm not telling you don't see Aquaman 2. If that's your jam, if you like kind of stereotypical, schlocky, over the top, um, almost stereotypical type of characterizations, you might like it a lot. I know a lot of people who loved it. I wasn't one of them. I did love the Marvels though. Um, and there are some movies that are still on my list. I think Iron Claw looks fantastic. I haven't seen it yet. Um, I I really want to see Wonka, and I do want to see The Color Purple because it's a musical. Um, I just haven't been able to get out to see those yet. And Cartoon Commotion says it's not to say that we couldn't have a good story with a sequel, but some movies aren't written with sequels in mind. Like those sequels usually only happen due to the original doing well, right? Exactly. It does really well, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, we got more story we can should tell." Not that we can, well, no, that we can tell. Not that we should, but we can. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's my thoughts. That's it for tonight, guys. That's it for Wednesday Night Bites. If you like this, tell someone to join us on Patreon and join us for these exclusive live streams just for our Patreon supporters like Cartoon Commotion. And Cartoon Commotion says, then there's some sequels I like better than the originals. I love Disney's Muppets 1 and 2, but the sequel more than the first. Okay. See, I don't remember much about the second one. I saw it. I know Josh Groban is in it, but that's all I remember. However, Muppets Take Manhattan, the third original film, might be my favorite of that franchise. But see, that's a good one. Like, you could run the Muppets into the ground if you're not careful, and they have about done it several times. But anyway, that's it for us this week, guys. And hope you enjoy this. If you do, tell a friend to join us on Patreon. Our goal is 500 patrons this year. I would love to do it by July. If we get more, that would be great. At least 500 at the $1 level. At $5, you get more exclusives. But at least the $1 level. At the $5 level, you'll get my exclusive Saturday Magic Matinee, where I'm doing full magic performances just for our Back of the Cereal Box Patreon supporters. That's also cross-pollinated with Johnny Beyond Magic. So if you support one or the other, you get that at the $5 level or above. And at the $10 level, you get access to some exclusive merchandise. You get voting privileges, exclusive chats, all kinds of other fun stuff. So if you like what we're doing on Wednesday night, make sure you tune in Saturday morning. This Saturday morning, we're going to be interviewing the hosts, get to know you, get to know us, and join us in the chat and ask your questions about your favorite host. All right. Until the next time, love you, mean it. We'll catch you on the back of the cereal box. Thanks for watching. And so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, bonjour.